For me, there's nothing called digital marketing. 95% watch the full ad. Do you believe
90%?
it? 95%.
Oh, okay.
Full video view, 30 seconds. So early part of my career, marketing was advertising for me. That I completely misread. Marketers tend to get bored with their own work quite easily.
Yeah.
And same goes with the agencies, right?
Yeah. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Content Room brought to you by Hype Media Network. Today we have Gamika De Silva, an industry veteran, an industry disruptor when it comes to marketing and content development. He was also my boss sometime when I was working in the financial sector. So in between the episodes, if I call him boss,
Try
that's
not to.
that's out of respect. So thank you for coming, boss.
Thank you very much for inviting me. Privileged and honored to be here, Rukshan.
Yes. So to start off with,
Yeah.
how did you find marketing? Where did you land on this whole subject?
Interesting story. I'll try to keep it short as possible to focus on crux of the discussion. I became a marketer by accident. My family didn't know marketing. By the time we finished A levels, marketing was not on the top 3 or 4 list. You're supposed to be a doctor, engineer, lawyer, or accountant. Marketing and sales was just ripping at that point of time. So I fumbled upon marketing. I was just after I wanted to become a doctor. I did bioscience. I was short of marks for university.
Your brother also is a
My brother became a doctor.
doctor.
Yeah. So I was a couple of marks short of university, and I didn't want to go through that hassle of doing A level once again. My inspiration was my dad. He was from Sri Lanka Air Force. I wanted to join Air Force. Irrespective of me being a doctor, I wanted to still join Air Force. At one point, he stopped it for whatever reason, and he had a reason for me to not to go. And then I was like, looking at multiple options. I was lost course, and I was like looking at options, and then I had to work on this organization because I was like, loitering around. And my father said, go and work here. So I got a job. I was working, and to date, I'm so thankful and respecting that gentleman. If I may mention him, he's Mr. Romani De Silva. He's the chairman of Alliance Finance. He was my boss at one point, and he one day asked, Gamika, what are you planning to do? I said, I was looking at architecture. I wanted to be architect, and I was looking at this and that. And he said, no. I think you're good at marketing. Go and do CIM. So I didn't know marketing, and I avoided that. Week after, he asked me again, did you go? I said, no. He said, tomorrow you have to go and register and come back and tell me. So with his perseverance, I went and registered at this institute. And then I went for the first class, and it was like a magic to me at that point, and the rest is history. That's how I became a marketer.
All right, fantastic. So you were in multiple industries, right? If you tell us a little bit about your journey in terms of right now you are at Janashakti, you are the group
Chief marketing officer.
chief marketing officer. So how was your journey?
See, I've been pretty much in different industries, but more skewed towards service marketing. I haven't been in FMCGs per se. So I started my career with Alliance Finance just after school. And then I got a break. Obviously, like, every school leaver during my era wanted to join a bank. So
Yeah.
I have applied to all banks. So I got the opportunity to join Hat National Bank at one point. So I joined as a banking trainee at that point. During that period, I completed my CIM, or I was completing my CIM. So I wanted to get into marketing, and I was looking for an opportunity. I got an opportunity at Richard Peters as a management trainee. There, I managed to work in multiple areas: supermarkets, manufacturing, distribution, all that, and a fantastic experience. With that experience, I got into an MBA. During that period, I joined Janashakti Insurance. I handled non-motor insurance and subsequently moved into life. That's where Atilan and I worked together the very first time, although we knew each other for a long time. From Janashakti, I moved into Telco, and I joined Tigo, and I was fortunate to be in the leadership team of changing Tigo into Etisalat. So that was like a big revelation for me. And from there onwards, I continue my journey on Telco, being at Airtel for a shorter period, and then joined Ceylon Bank, where you and I managed to work together. That was my longest stint at banking, and it's a fantastic time. Post that, I joined the Janashakti Group, which is a financial conglomerate, and that's how it has been.
That's how it has been. Why I asked you that question is, for me to get an approach to my next question. Now you have experience in different industries, you've handled marketing in different industries. What is something that you misunderstood, that this is marketing, something that you misunderstood?
Hmm. So early part of my career, marketing was advertising for me.
Hmm.
That I completely misread. And more I matured, for me right now, marketing is a big subject. But then I think I referred to some of your podcasts also. I think particularly what Jeffrey mentioned as marketing is everybody's subject.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be a marketer. Marketing is common sense for me. It's a social science. But particular to your questions, I misunderstood marketing as advertising.
Hmm.
And I think majority of the audience or the market also still thinks that marketing is advertising only.
Advertising, and some people think marketing is sales.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So lot of brands even up to now segregate marketing and content.
Hmm.
Do you think this is right, or do you think marketing and content should be looked at as one?
It should be looked as one. Marketing, as I mentioned, it's a overarching concept of how to understand your customers and sell your products or services, anticipate demand, sell your products and services at a profit, and satisfy customer demand as well, right? So within that, one key pillar is content.
Yeah.
We can debate about this in multiple angles, and I must underline and say that I'm not a digital marketing guy or a content specialist like you guys are, but then I understand marketing from a consumer point of view.
Yeah.
So content and marketing has to be looked at together. It cannot be isolatedly looked at.
Yeah. Now, me personally,
Yeah.
when I look at marketing and content, I see a paper article as a piece of content. I see a leaflet that you hand out in the road as a piece of content.
Yeah.
But a lot of people see digital, what you see in digital, that's what you call content. Is
Content.
this right, or you have a different view?
So let's break it down a little bit. It's very interesting topic, Rukshan. If you
Yeah.
give me a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
For me, there's nothing called digital marketing.
Yeah.
Right. I might be very unpopular and people might go have a go at me, but it's marketing in digital era. You
Correct.
rewind back about 20 years where we started, our content, as you said, was the leaflet or the tvc or the radio or the hoarding or the banner that you put out, right?
Yeah.
Even the banners, we didn't have expense at that time. It was that silk screen printed banners that you had to put as well. So every piece that you communicate is a content, right?
Yeah.
Now that it has evolved, I mean, like digital has taken over. As we speak, it evolves. AI has come into the picture. Channels have expanded. Predominantly when we started digital or the social media marketing per se, it was predominantly Facebook, right? Right now we have multiple channels playing different roles. So I think with that expansion, the importance for content has become much more. So every piece is content for me.
Yeah.
Every piece has a role to play. It's how you use it as a marketer.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to marketing and content specifically, in your view, what makes content actually work? What I mean, beyond just looking good, because for content, it needs to look nice. It has to be shot in a proper camera with proper lighting and all. But sometimes we see a simple phone recorded piece of video or a photograph going viral and bringing more attention to that brand.
Absolutely.
So, in your opinion, how does this work? What makes content actually work?
Rukshan, you have to look at it in this perspective. Now, content comes under if you go back to basics of your principles of marketing and the 4 Ps,
Yeah.
the promotional P.
Correct.
Right? So communication comes under that. Now, for me, looking at the new age of marketing, specifically if you look at from the perspective of Philip Kotler's Marketing 3.0, how it evolves and, how customers are evolving, consumers are becoming more powerful. You have to look at communication as a point of view that where you can create a conversation.
Yeah.
Now, for me, if I take few minutes extra, the 4 Ps can be challenged. There's no product, there's no service. It's a solution you give, right?
Yeah.
There's no distribution, there's no place that you sell, but it has to be 24/7, right? No global boundaries. You have to be accessible. you have to be at consumers service when they want, not at the time you want. Similarly, communication has to be a conversation. It's not I shout and you listen. It has to be a two-way thing,
Yeah.
because especially when the channels are,
Dialogue, not a
it has
monologue.
to be a dialogue. So in this perspective, content becomes absolutely important.
Yeah.
Now, coming back into the quality of what you produce, how you produce, what you say, it all depends on the brand. It all depends on your communication and marketing objectives. It all depends on your consumer. Now, I know content which has really worked for me, which are some simple ones. Some have, even if you have spent a lot, it has failed also.
Correct.
So it's a simple fact of not understanding the market, not clear about your objective. Missing these pieces can go wrong. So it's not merely the quality of the content, but content is absolutely important. You have to understand your audience, and you have to absolutely know your objective. What are you going to do with it?
Yeah. Now, me being from the point of view of coming from the side of the agency, and then you speaking from the side of a corporate. Now, the biggest problem is this: no, why doesn't content work sometimes? And we also sometimes sit down and try to think, because we did this last time, it worked. We did for this other brand, it worked. Now we are trying to use the same thing for this brand, it's not working. Is this because people are changing and the requirements are changing, or is it because the content world is moving so fast? What do you think?
There are two parts to my answer. One is, marketers tend to get bored with their own work quite easily.
Yeah.
And same goes with the agencies, right?
Yeah.
You did this, now you want to do something better. But have you asked whether your consumers are bored with it? Maybe not.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need consistency, right? I can give enough and more global examples or local examples. You have stood by the same story consistently. Maybe it has evolved, but your messaging has been similar. So there, the marketer's message is how to build consistency. Number two, I think, I again referring to your previous podcast, we are inundated with content.
Yeah.
There's a lot. I think even some clients, I'm sure you would have faced, I want more, right?
Yeah.
So what do? Sometimes less is more.
Less is more. Yeah.
Less is more. It's about, I think, where the missing piece comes, Rookie, is that you do not understand the objective, what you really want to do with content, what you really do want to do with this particular channel. Now, if I go a step further, people will expect Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, everything to do the same thing. No, it is not, right? Each channel has a role. Each channel has a way of communicating.
Yeah.
Each channel has an audience. Each channel has a way of consuming content also. So if you don't understand that, if you don't know what your brand wants to achieve, it can be awareness, it can be customer service, it can be engagement, the brand love. You need to understand the funnel. If you do not know where you want to hit it, you can go completely wrong. And that's where I think this whole problem of I need better content, this will work, etc. Also, the fact that we need to keep in mind is what worked for us back then might not work now.
No.
I mean, as you said, it's evolving. The consumers are evolving. They are more knowledgeable. They are exposed to more content, not only local but global also. But I think the fundamentals remain same. They want to be understood. It has to be relatable. That's something that I would like to consume.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you and I, we were lucky enough to work at Ceylan when we were disrupting kind of the digital
Absolutely,
space.
yeah.
Right? And we did things that other brands were not. We got people. Remember, if you remember the King, we had people
Dancing
from
on the
brands
tables.
dancing on the tables for that tune. Nobody
Yeah.
want. I mean,
I would have got chased off by the.
remember
Yeah.
the backlash that we kind of got. But these were things that we did which were beyond norms.
Absolutely.
Do you think most of the brands are scared to do things when it comes to content and marketing, and they're trying to play it safe? And that's
I think that's biggest hurdle that all marketers have, playing it safe. I was like groomed by leaders, allowing me to be free, be bold, and brave. Of course, you have the fair share of risk as well on that one.
Yeah.
But you have to take a calculated risk. If you don't take that calculated risk, you would probably not encroach into the areas that you want to go into. I mean, if you look at the campaigns you and I did together, the previous version, the first time we came out with the personal loans, that ad was not something that a bank would do.
Correct.
My boss Tilan at that time said, Madan, get ready to either get fired or this will really work.
Really work.
Right? And it really did. And until the product department came and said, hey, stop, the demand is too much, we can't handle the load. And that was, I was as a marketer, I was very happy to hear that comment, because like,
Yeah.
your communication had really worked. And it's not only the communication, it's the entire thread.
Yeah.
That's why I always value this integrated marketing communication. It's not just one channel, one piece or whatever. Everything needs to connect. It has to, end of the day, related to that objective that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
So I think, that's how you need to look at it in the disruption landscape. You have to be brave. You have to be bold.
Yeah.
Always be self-critical and ask, can I do this better?
Yeah.
Right? Challenge yourself. I think that's a secret to success, Ruki.
And a big shout out to Eugene, because
our good friend. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think there one success factor for that campaign was him wearing the red cap, but not putting us down, but always wearing the red cap and saying don't do this, don't do that, but always supporting. Okay, you push it, we'll handle it.
Yeah.
So
I think the whole success, Rookie, I'll be failing if I don't mention this. It's that whole culture, the team dynamic we created. I remember this product was tested before, right? We were sure that we can deliver it within 2 days or under 2 days.
Yeah.
Once that is ready, only we went to the market.
Correct.
And we had the comms fixed very well. Then we had sales launched at the same time. And that really took Celan out of the cave to the market, because we were not reaching out to the market.
So proper integrated,
absolute integrated
operations to sales to marketing,
everything,
to call center,
all connected,
branches, everything. Every dot.
And even the branches initially was not getting this rhythm. At one point, Tilan had to go and push the buttons to get the branches going, and then they figured out that this is valuable.
Treasury working with the rates, everybody was supporting. So good. Now that we are talking about things that you were part of, because that brings to my next question. Can you walk us through a campaign or a single piece of content that you're really, really proud of, and can you tell us why that worked?
So this actually is a tough question, Rookie. I think, during my career, there are a couple of groundbreaking campaigns I'm still proud of. I mean, from obviously Celan Deken Denna is one of the top-notch ones I can always be proud of. Etisalat brand launch, the brand change, I'm always proud of. The BlackBerry campaign, that was the first to come to the market. The broadband, I mean, the Etisalat, we had fantastic set of campaigns. But I will probably refer to the very recent experience.
Etisalat, if I can remember, that was one of the teasers, because that was not digital heavy back then.
No, there was no social media at the time of launch.
So that was one of the teasers that actually teased people, because you only put that logo out. People were wondering what the hell is this?
That build up was amazing. I can talk for hours on that one. But that's something I take pride on. I was lucky to be part of that team. I mean, there's a whole team worked on that. But if I come into your question, a very, very, very recent experience from this year, couple of months back, Janashakti Group is known as JXG. We wanted to go in for a listing. So people know Janashakti Insurance. As soon as I joined, also everybody asked, why are you joining insurance? So I said, no, I'm joining for the holding company, which is JXG Janashakti Group. So before we go into the listing, we had to build a corporate brand. So I think we could have taken, I think credit goes to the creative agency and the team who worked behind tirelessly. We took a bold step. Took a bold step and said, you don't know JXG. Who is JXG? And this, Rookie, actually, I mean, I had a very limited budget compared to what we spend in banks and all the financial sector. I had a limited budget. I had to plan with my team for a limited period. It was every day matters, because finally, once you build it up, the announcement of the listing and IPO and all that stuff had to connect with everything. You cannot miss an inch on that one. So we looked at from a key message point of view, we wanted to disrupt. We wanted people to see. We wanted people to engage, and we clearly identified our audience. It's not the masses we are going to talk to. It's this particular audience, and then we mapped out this particular consumer's lifestyle from how he consumes media. So morning you pick up the phone, how do you want to see that? While you drive to office, how do you want to see that? How do you want to listen to that? Then what do you want to consume on that? So entire day was mapped out. That's how the media strategy worked. The content was done, and then I mean we had success. And to tell you, if you look at the stats, I don't have the exact stat, but if I mean on digital and everything, you see a lot of films, but our commercial 10 million was our reach, 4 plus frequency. 95% watched the full ad. Do you believe it?
90%.
95%.
Oh, okay.
Full video view, 30 seconds. And the agency came back to and said, Mazam, we spend a lot on some of the commercials, but people don't watch the entire thing. 3 seconds drop, 5 seconds drop, 10 seconds. I'm sure you have your
I
experience
know.
as well.
Yeah.
95%
Getting
of
people to
our
watch 6 seconds is a big thing.
30 seconds. This challenge in terms of the attention span, na?
Yeah.
That was a question you asked from the last one
Yeah.
also. We got people to watch that ad, and that with limited budgets, limited period, we achieved all our objectives, and it was highly successful. And that's I take a lot of pride in that, and the credit goes to the entire team, agency team, the media team, brand team, everybody.
Superb. You want to mention the agency?
Oh, agency is shift integrated. So they worked on the creative side of it. Sandun, Ikram, Naveen, and the team. Media was by third shift.
Okay.
So these teams work together. Our digital is done in-house. So all credits to Nanoj, who handles digital in-house. Ogilvy handles our PR. So all combined, the outdoor, everything combined, it worked really well for us.
Superb. So that's a success story. Let's go back to a little bit of a story that I mean on the opposite of
Opposite
that,
side.
something that looked very good in paper, but ended up horrible
Disaster.
with-
Yeah. So again another recent example. I had many failures. I think I can relate to this because I have substance to talk about it. There was this particular. I do not want to mention the agency. It's not good. There was a fantastic script, right? Again about 2 years back, of brilliant script, very emotional. It connects ethnicities, all that stuff, and I loved it on paper. Looked at the storyboard, brilliant. We had to go for it. So I actually have two stories. Yeah, we went into production. We rushed the production due to time frames. We did not give that attention to detail how it should come out. The post production, we were too late to change a lot of stuff. Took a gamble. It looked okay to me. Went ahead, failed. Didn't work. We wasted money on production. We
Yeah.
wasted money on boosting, all that stuff. It was a digital driven film. It did not achieve any of the objectives that we set. Uh, Previously, even at the bank, we had another brilliant idea. Fantastic storyboard, brilliant script, fantastic key message. We as a client, we were stingy. We didn't want to spend on an extra bit in terms of production, so we went into a safer option. Went ahead. To date, I feel that story is very strong, but it didn't kick off.
Yeah.
So I think these are learnings. I have learned a lot throughout my career on some of those failures.
So good that you were talking about creatives and building scripts and all of those things, because that my next question is, how do you balance creativity versus business results when it comes to decision making?
Let's put it as creativity versus effectiveness.
Creativity versus
So
effectiveness.
for me, creativity is a means to effectiveness. End of the day, what we do, Rookie, we have to have effectiveness because you are supposed to, as a marketer, you're accountable for the ROI.
Yeah.
Right, for the every rupee you spend. So creativity is a route that you can actually have a cut through. You can disrupt, right? So without creativity, you cannot be effective, right? That I strongly believe in that because as a creative person, a brand person, I believe creativity is needed. So I think you need to emphasize, give enough thought, plan better, have it thought through what you're going to do. Now, having said that, everybody will not have the luxury of larger budgets. Now, at telco, we had large budgets.
Yeah.
Banks, we had relatively large budgets, right? But you may be in industry that okay, now in my career, after spending almost 2 decades, I know what I can do with a 500 million or 100 million, or even if you give me 50 million, I know what to do.
Yeah.
So you figure out what can be done. You can still do it. There's nothing called budget take madi, you can't do this. Even if the smallest budget, you can still do
Something.
disruptive work, right? Now, I was part of Global FE's couple of years ago in jury. There were campaigns, Rookie, led by PR. Have you seen in Sri Lanka led by PR? No, right? It was completely led by PR. There were campaigns completely led by SEO only. And radio comes as a support medium, digital comes as a tertiary support, secondary medium. So there are ways and means you can actually be creative, but I mean, the marketer needs to take it very, very seriously. It starts with the consumer insights, it starts with your briefing process, it's how you work with the agency as a partner, not like, okay, I'll give you the script, okay, I need advertisement, you do something. No, that's not going to work.
Yeah. In marketing, since the day we started learning marketing, something that we always hear is knowing your audience. How do we now? You have 2 decades of experience, so you can maybe give us a simple answer so everybody can understand. How do you do this in a practical scenario?
So start with the most safer academic way of doing it is research.
Yeah.
Now research can be done in multiple ways. It can be your own research. You go out to the market. Now me as a young product manager selling mattresses for Apico, I went to the market to more to a cushion workers to cartoon area mattress sellers to whatever, to understand what customers want, what the distributor want, what's the retailer wants. So once you identify that, those are consumer insights. Little did I know, but actually that gave us opportunities to develop new products, new ways of communicating. And at a point, Richard Peters or Apico mattresses are fighting with Damro. Damro had a larger market share. Some of those little insights, this is understanding customers, this is research. And then you go into like a telco industry, you have proper brand health studies, you understand, just like FMCG, you need to know how the sentiments move, how does your competitor move against you, which parameters you need to work on, so you understand that, right? So you have the research part of it. It's a must that you do, whether you do it in an informal way, formal way, you have to do research. Secondly, research is not just something to lean on. it's a it's a street lamp post that it gives light. You need to know how to walk. Research won't tell you do this.
Yeah.
As a marketer, you need to understand. So most of the time for me, Ruki, the gut feel works.
Yeah.
Even if something is going wrong, and when you go against that gut feel, you're bound to fail, right? With your experience, your gut feel becomes stronger and stronger, right?
Yes.
So research will give you some perspective. You need to decide how to take it forward. As any marketer or running an organization, be close to the ground, right? Sometimes you get your best wisdom driving in a tuk-tuk into a tuk driver, the tuk-tuk wisdom you get. You go to the Sunday Polar or go to the supermarket, talk to some of your customers and ask, why do they buy their product? Why do they buy the competitor product? These are simple things you can understand. Once, if you can decode that, you can do wonders. You can make magic.
Yeah. So just a follow up on this question itself. Do you think brands are doing that? Most of the brands, I mean, yes, of course, there are brands that are actually practicing this, but do you think brands mostly are doing this or trying to push content to the audience and expect results?
I don't know statistically whether to call it most or some or whatever, but I know large organizations, MNCs, get engaged in proper research, and that's been practiced and embedded on their DNA to do that. There are organizations, there are expert marketers who study research, who do their own research, do field visits, talk to customers, and get that, and even call centers, get in the voice of the customer to perfect your communication and content strategy. But I know for a fact that I may be wrong if I call many who don't do this.
Yeah.
They will only rely on an agency. They will only rely on what's going on social media. Okay, let's do this. I think that's a formula to fail, or it's not sustainable.
Is it the responsibility of the agency to do all this research or the brand?
I don't segregate this. I think it's a combined. I always consider agency as my extended marketing team. So I think it's a combined responsibility. Even if I think, primarily as the brand custodian, the client needs to, or the brand custodian needs to drive the research. And when you drive the research, your agency also need to be an equal part of share in that information. And I always had the practice also. When the research comes in, I sit with the agency, we decode it together. Because something I don't see, they might suddenly say, Masa, this is it. I think we need to do something here. You can debate and agree on it. So it has to be a partnership. Agencies also need to do their groundwork. I have seen agencies just pick up an idea from the shelf, or you have a
Shelf of
ideas. You pick up and say, okay, let's put this brand.
Yeah.
I don't want to name agencies, but I have come across in my career. Come and present it and say, put my brand. So, okay, cover the brand and see where is the brand coming through that, right? So agency also needs to do their research. If a project is given, a brand is given, a brief is given, you need to do your groundwork, talk to the customer. They can then is a classic example. I remember the very first video before the agency presented, they went with a camcorder to the market, asked 10 or 15 customers, how long do you think a loan will take from a bank?
Yeah.
15 days, 30 days. Somebody I still remember saying that our private bank එකේ නම් සති දෙකකින් ගන්න පුළුවන් වේ. Right? And this was the insight
Yeah.
for us. And we worked on that, right? Remember?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now we talk about modernization, globalization. These are talked about topics, right? But when it comes to doing marketing and creating content, how important is cultural relevance, especially in Sri Lanka?
Oh, very important. I think you can't deviate from the cultural relevance. Now, best example is, let's say, for example, Tamil content, right? And we talk to a audience. I mean, Sri Lanka has an audience which probably, if my statistics are correct, maybe about 75% is Sinhala speaking,
Yeah.
about another 12 to 15% in terms of Tamil, and then balance English. Completely English only audience, I don't know, maybe about 30%, 40%, maybe, if I'm correct. So you need to understand this, the language, sentiments, the tone, everything is important. And especially a language like Tamil has different dialects, how the northern people
Yeah.
refer to it, how the central people refer to it. So if you don't understand that culture, disaster for failure, your brand will get whacked. I remember this example. We shot a commercial for Taipongal at Ceylon Bank. I made sure our good friend Visakan was sent for the production, and he looked at a particular prop and said, "Make a mehemanimeti," and it has to turn the other way. If you put it on this way, it's a funeral, and this is the way that celebration. Look, a simple prop would have made a difference.
Yeah.
And I remember an instant at Etisalat, we did a still shoot. A golfer was holding the golf club in a wrong way, and I got hammered by a customer, literally hammered. He called the CEO and said, "This is how you guys know golf." I mean, it's very sentimental, very offensive if you make a mistake. So cultural relevance absolutely needed.
Is a must.
That's why you need to understand your audience. Whom are you talking to? I mean, obviously, like you go into a broader audience, but then what is the cultural relevance? Absolutely needed.
Now, the latest statistics reveal that Sri Lankan female population is now significantly higher than the male population. Does this mean when we are creating products to creating marketing campaigns to marketing content, we have to focus on the statistic more than we used to?
Ruki, it goes back to the marketing and the brand objective you want to. What type of a product you're going to promote, what type of a service you're going to promote, and what are you going to achieve from that. Now, I mean, let's say it's a unisex product. It appeals to, I mean, let's say a banking example. But here you need to also look at who is the decision maker, who is the influencer, who is the purchaser, because it's a chain of command, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes your kid can be the influencer, mother can be the decision maker,
Yeah.
or some instances it's the father is the decision maker. Then you need to understand, okay, I'm talking to this.
Yeah.
Sometimes you talk to the influencer,
Correct.
right? You talk to the influencer and say, hey, have you done this? Then the influencer will start thinking and tell the decision maker, okay, we have to buy that.
Yeah.
So that's where, I mean, for me, there's no clear cut answer saying, okay, you need to target the female audience, but it all depends on your product, your marketing objective, and also the decision making unit from the consumer point of view.
Yeah.
Who is that you're going to talk to?
Yeah, I asked that question because I saw this other statistic also being spoken in media that a lot of people, a lot of youth is now becoming independent, living independently, and majority of that is also now females.
Yeah.
So in that sense, when we are producing content, I mean, that might be a
See, another audience that we tend to miss is the single parents.
yeah.
That's also an audience that you sometimes forget. But it all has to be fit into your marketing objective, your TG, what your products or service does, how it's relevant, who is that decision making unit. All these factors need to. I think this is where the importance of a brief comes in.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I'm sorry to say, I haven't seen proper briefs going out.
Yeah.
All right. I think 90% of the success of your content or your campaign is depending on the brief. If the brief is wrong, the entire thing can go wrong.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. And also from the agency point of view, how they decode the brief.
Correct.
There's internal briefing, right? I'm sure that you're doing that. The internal briefing, sometimes some agencies which I work very closely and had successful relationships and successful campaigns, they share their internal brief and ask, Gamika, do you think that this is what you want to achieve before they go into their creatives? From the client service into creative, they have a briefing. That also be, so this brief plays a key role in terms of your success of
I
your
remember
communication.
Bharata, who was the group head of
Delmage.
marketing at Delmage,
Yeah.
he was talking about the importance of a brief.
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, short form content, trends, algorithms, agile marketing. Do you think marketing and content development is becoming very reactive now rather than proactive like it used to be?
So I may be the odd one out here. I told you at the beginning also I'm not this digital guy. So I'll answer from a very layman's point of view.
Yeah.
Now I view digital as a part of the whole integrated communication piece. Digital can play a lead role. Even in digital, we misread. People think digital is social media. Now, I see digital as three components. You have social media, you have the web, very important. We forget that.
Yeah.
And then the digital itself, the AR, VR, whatever the magic that you can do with some of the tools that you have on digital. I think at some point at time we get overwhelmed with all this, and our minds are locked. Okay, we need to do something like this. I suggest that we take a step back, look at that basic integrated marketing communications model. Very simple. Understand the audience, understand the objectives, key message, how does the message goes into from which channel.
Yeah.
Right now, one of the best examples of marketing communication discipline comes in from a FE entry. FE entry cannot be filled by anyone.
Yeah.
Right, you have to have some actual knowledge to fill an FE entry, and that takes you through that whole process. When you plan a campaign, if you can start planning with a FE perspective, not whether to apply or not, but FE perspective, you'll have effective communication coming out. So that gives you that discipline of thinking, what is the business problem, what is the objective, what are the measurables, then what is your key message, what's the strategy, what's the channel, etc., etc. So given, if you can map that out, you will figure out what type of content you want.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, that one of the FE global campaign, South American campaign, a telco wanted to say who is the best 3G provider, right? What they did was they pumped money in terms of SEO, right? So then the campaign broke out on radio and said, go and ask Google who's the best service provider. Brilliant. So people didn't believe when the telco came and said, I give you the fastest speed. No, go to hell, right? You go to Google and search who gives the fastest. Boom, this comes up. That's the effect. So you need to figure out which channels to lead, which channels to support, and plan accordingly.
Yeah. So now you have multiple heads of marketing coming and reporting to you, are probably coming and asking you questions. Gamika, this trend is happening, that trend is happening. So what will your answer be like? How do you decide when to follow trends and when to follow or when to build original content?
I don't know whether I have the accurate answer for this. I'll try to answer to my best of my knowledge. I think trends are important. You need to pick up trends. But in that, the fundamental question I ask is, how relevant is this for your brand? Right? If you cannot justify, if you cannot defend your argument just for the sake of doing it, I don't want you to do something to follow the trend. But let's say you come and say, look, I'm short of followers target. I want to, get this going to get more traction. I might hear you out. But if it is detrimental to your brand architecture, your brand values, your brand purpose, I wouldn't ask you to do that. So those are the two filters I will probably look at. A, from how relevant is to the brand. B, what's the objective you're trying to achieve. Not just to, everybody's doing, let's do something like this.
Yeah. So what's your take on AI when it comes to marketing and content development? I'm just asking a very open-ended question without going so that you can give a broad answer.
Sure. Well, I think all in all, AI is good. I think it has improved our efficiency. It gives you novel thinking, faster response time in terms of production, etc.
Do you use AI personally?
I do. We are not averse to it. I mean, I have encouraged the team to use. I have encouraged our communication partners to use. But you need to know when to use it and how to use it. Now, for example, I mean, you can write a PR article using ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
But then Some people write emails also using chat gpt, but you don't have your soul in it.
Hmm.
You just copy and paste. If you construct your article by giving the right input, take it out, add your flavor, add your soul to it, you might have a better one. So rather than spending 3 hours, you might be able to do it in about a half an hour, 45 minutes. So creative stuff, yes, I think agencies have opportunities to come out with better creatives, better illustrations, rather than spending a lot of time on it. But you need to look at whether this appeal to whether it's again hitting your objective, whether it's appealing to your audience. Do you understand your audience? Because at one point I heard Jeffrey also saying that people will get tired about not seeing the real human figure or what's happening.
Yeah.
So it's a fine balance, Rookie. I mean, you can't say that AI is bad or AI is good. You need to have the right balance, which is relevant to your brand, relevant to your brand objectives, relevant to your audience.
Yeah. So now that you have, since you have been heading marketing divisions in multiple industries, this you might be able to give a simple answer to this. A mistake that you see brands constantly make today.
Hmm.
I mean, if there's nothing like that, then of course you can say there's nothing like
No,
that.
no. I mean, I think more often than not, the brands do not give enough attention, or it's up their list about ROI. And that's something that the marketers are shy of.
Hmm.
And as a result, there are lack of marketing representation in the boardroom also.
Yeah.
You go and present a campaign, a board member asks you about ROI, you don't have an answer, you're gone, right? I think the brand custodians, marketing managers need to give due attention and interest to ROI, because you are spending your shareholders' money. It's not your money. You have a limited marketing budget. How best you can turn around. I mean, given a limited marketing budget, you need to be very clear about what you're going to deliver.
Yeah.
You can't achieve sun and the moon if you have a limited budget. So what are you going to do with it at the best effectiveness possible? So as I initially mentioned, that creativity is a means of effectiveness. So you need to bring the effectiveness out. That's where I think a lot of us, if I broadly look at it, I mean, there could be multiple mistakes, but in a larger sense, I think this is the more grave and the heaviest mistake that all brand marketers make.
Okay. So I have a series of questions that I wanted to ask you, but actually, there's attention span, like you said. So I don't want to drag this conversation any further for
Sure.
in this episode. But
All
I'm
right.
definitely going to have you in another episode
Surely.
in the near future. But so before we close, can you give one piece of advice to the up and coming marketers who envision themselves where you are today?
Um, First of all, you have to be passionate. If you're not passionate, I think brand marketing is driven by passion. Any marketing discipline is driven by passion. If you're not passionate, if you're just doing for the sake of doing or for the glory, don't do it. Forget it. You're not going to succeed. You're not going to go a long way. You have to be passionate about what you do. If you lose the passion, move out and find something else. Or if you're not passionate about the brand, move into another brand. You have to be passionate about it. Number two, be humble, stay foolish, open for information, be ready to go to the ground, roll up your sleeves, talk to the customers, go to the farmer, go to the puller, talk to customers, get information, get your hands dirty, be ready with that. I think if you can get that, you will have your knowledge, you have skill set and all that stuff. I'm not going to talk about it. If you have these two, I think that's your success formula.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let's definitely catch up in another episode.
Surely.
So, everyone, if you are watching this episode up to this point, that means you are interested about marketing and content development. So, subscribe to our channel. If you have any questions to ask from Gamika, please feel free to drop it in the comments. He will definitely come and respond to it. I will see you again next week with another episode. Until then, take care. Adios.